Why is it why not? What good is a philosopher who doesn't offend people? Why do other schools outperform us? And why do we give up? And you're not wrong about this, by the way. Why do we give up? Yeah, we kind of accept failure. I remember when I first got here, I was coaching baseball, and the other coaches used to talk about the Bonita effect. I don't know if any of you guys have heard this before, but whenever our school would play like Mar Vista or Southwest, we would go on the field and we would just take it to them, and we would kick the shit out of them, brag about how great we are, all that. And then as soon as our teams got on the field against like Bonita, they would just shrivel up and die and give up before the game would even start. We saw it in like the person I was talking to specifically about this. She used to coach tennis, but like tennis, you see it in football. I'd see it in baseball. There's this mentality that we can't beat those schools. Why not? Like the idea of us outperforming Bonita, let's say, academically. Well, why not? Yeah. So there's one thing, better coaching, more money, they have more resources, have better teachers. You see that, yeah. What I want us to see, the reason I'm pushing this answer is because there are two very different kinds of answers to this question, which answers your question. Why can't we start with where we are? There are two ways of approaching life. And it's not just in school, I mean, it's in most places in life. Here's the first way of approaching life. Why is it that we underperform? Because we aren't expected to perform well, and so we don't pay attention, we don't do this, we don't do that, fine, okay? And then, in fact, interestingly enough, there are schools in our district who strictly enforce the cell phone ban. They've asked us to be somewhat lenient with it. Why? Well, because, it's just how you guys are, That's what they think about you. There's a reason that we have a grad plan that only requires you to have 26 credits to graduate. But like La Jolla, it's 44, Coronado, it's 44, most of the wealthy neighborhoods. Why do you suppose it is that we're not requiring you to have 44 credits to graduate, but only 26? Is it because they think highly of you? Is it because they expect a lot of you? No, it's because you need our help. Does that offend you? I hope it does. It would offend me if I was a student. If they were telling me, well, no, we don't, sorry, Scanlon, we don't expect very much of you. So we're gonna go ahead and let you slide with 40% education, 40% less education than those other schools. Now, here's a hell of a question. Who gets more money in funding, us or them? Us, because we're considered low income. So we actually get special federal funding and special state funding that other schools don't get. We get funding here that they don't get at Otay. Isn't that a trip? It's the same district. But we get more funding here than Otay gets per student. Why? Because we're considered low income. So is it really a funding problem? I don't know. Is it a teacher problem? I don't know. I've got 2 bachelors, 2 masters, and a PhD. I've got more degrees than most people have letters in their names. I was a certified master teacher in my 2nd year as a teacher. Normally I have to be at least 6 years in. I won CABE's most inspirational teacher of the year in California. And the amount of awards, the number of awards and things I have, most of you guys would never guess. And why don't I talk about them? Because it doesn't matter what you did last year. What matters is what you do this year. And yet, 75% of you are failing. Is it really the teacher? Well, I don't like him because he says the F word. Oh, I'm really fucking sorry for your feelings about that. Can I see your playlist? Can I hear how you talk to your friends? You see that there are two very different ways of interpreting the world. The stuff that we say is outside of us. Well, it's the teacher, it's the funding, it's the this, it's the that. All of the stuff over which I have no control. And if I have no control, well, then nothing's expected of me. Nothing can be expected of me. In fact, we will then turn around and see, oh, 26 credits? Oh, that's a relief, rather than an insult. It is an insult, whether you recognize it or not. There's a reason that they don't announce those plans until halfway through the year. They want to see what kind of grades you're getting. And then if the grades are very low, then they say, okay, we'll extend the plan 1 more year and 1 more year. And it was supposed to be for 1 year back in 2020. That was it. And then they said, well, the second year because it was the juniors coming up. And then it was the third year. And then it was the fourth year. Now it's the fifth year for seniors who were in 8th grade when COVID happened. And yet we extend it. Why? Because we don't expect much out of people. The second way of viewing the world is, as you guys started off with, it's stuff that's within my control. And so how much of your world you take to be within your control will have everything to do with whether we're going to start where we are right now or wait until later on. I had this friend, I guess we're still friends. I don't want to say his name because I know from time to time he watches these things, but I can't tell the story without him recognizing that it's him. His name is Xavier. He's the most incredibly talented guitar player I've ever heard in my life, man. I met the guy because I was in a band and we had a guitarist who quit the day before what was going to be our biggest show. We had an audio tape, and we gave it to Xavier. Xavier was the friend of my bass player. We just gave him the audio tape. He's like, cool. He went home and he learned all the songs. We didn't even show him how to play it. He just went home. He's like, no, I can learn off the tape. So he went home and he learned off of the tape. Shows up the next day and plays better than the original guitarist. With one day practice, never rehearsed with us. This guy is incredible. I don't care who you bring to me. This guy is probably better. He's incredibly talented, but he lacks all, I don't want to say motivation, but I guess it's motivation. The last time, every time, so he played in the band with us, and every time he was like he was going somewhere, it was always because he was attached to somebody else. It was never his band. His band, he had his songs, and the band was always gonna get together. I want to get these songs down perfect before I start a band, because in that way we can just come in and learn this stuff. And he would tinker with. He only had 7 songs. He would tinker with. I mean, I'd write 7 songs in a day. This guy only had 7 songs. They were very intricate. But he was tinkering with them every single day. You could probably guess, did he ever form that band? No. He was always about to. He was always going to. First things first, I got to make sure I have a place to stay. Because he was homeless for a little while. Because he had a job, but he was working 40 hours a week. He realized if he was working 40 hours a week, he was practicing his guitar 40 fewer hours a week. So he quit his job until he got kicked out of his apartment. But here's the thing, the guy woke up at 9 a.m. every day and he practiced his guitar. And then he'd take an hour for lunch and then he'd practice until 6 o'clock. This guy treated it like it was a 9-to-5 job, practicing his guitar. He didn't just wake up whenever he wanted to and then he disciplined himself he could discipline himself to do that and to work at it. But he could never discipline himself to take anything to the next level because everything had to wait until. I gotta wait until I get it in place, then it's fine. Then I gotta wait until I get the right guitar, and I gotta wait until, and he was always going to. The last time I talked to him, like on the phone, we message once in a while, but last time I talked to him on the phone was, I think it was 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. And he was working at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. He was sitting in a chair, and his job at the Staples Center as security was if anybody were to walk down this one hallway during an event, he was supposed to tell them, you can't come down this hallway, you have to go around. That was his job. That was it. Incredibly talented guitarist. That was his job. And he told me on the phone that he wanted to start doing stand-up comedy. And I was like, dude, 100%. Let me know when you're gonna do it. I will be there. I don't care what day, time, whatever, I'll be there. And he said, with the death knell, and I knew it was never gonna happen when he said, yeah, I'm working on a set, and once I get the set down, once I get an idea what I wanna do, then I'm gonna. And I said, oh man, he's never gonna. And he hasn't, even to now. Like I said, we stay in touch through messaging and email. He still hasn't. He's always going to as soon as that, or as soon as this, or as soon as that. And there are a lot of people in life like this. People, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys want to travel. I wonder how many of you are going to say to yourself, you know, I'm going to travel after I go to school, or after I get a job, or after this, or after that. And it's like, well, yeah, because you have to have money. You know how cheap it is to travel? Unless you've looked into it, you have no idea how cheap it is to travel. You can, if you book it far enough in advance, you can fly from San Diego. It's better to fly from LA if you can, because it's way cheaper to fly out of LAX than it is to fly to San Diego. You take a bus to LA for like $30, and you can save a few $100s on the airfare. But you can fly from LAX to Israel, which is on the other side of the world. Exactly, you go at the other side of the world for about $500. You might think, oh, $500, that's a lot of money. Dude, to travel to the other side of the world in half a day, a journey that used to take like years to do, if you survived it, you can now do for $500. Probably cheaper actually if you book far enough in advance. And then you think about how many hours do we have to work. Say you get a job, what's minimum wage? $15, something like that? $20? Okay, so minimum wage is $20. So that's what, 25 hours? 25 hours of work, half a part-time job for 1 week. You can fly to the other side of the world. And then, but then you have to eat once you're there. You have to eat when you're here anyway. Well, you have to stay somewhere. You stay at a hostel, which is like a communal hotel. You stay there for whatever it was. Like, it used to be like $20. It's probably $40 a night now, something like that. You could do a whole trip to anywhere in the world for like $1,000 for a whole week. Yeah, that's $1,000. But then as soon as got it. Rather than getting about the business of it. And then if you save up enough money, I wonder how many of us are going to save up enough money and go, I have enough money to go to Japan now. But you know what? I'm going to buy a car instead. I'm going to get a car. I'm going to use that car to get more hours at work. And then once I get more money, then I'm gonna. So many people in life are, then I'm gonna, rather than just do it. And you might say, you make it sound so easy. It's not easy. Nothing in life is. It's worthwhile. 26 credits, easy. Halfway through your junior year, you're done with high school. If you pass all your classes, easy. Right, this class, easy. But you find out that the things in life that are easy are oftentimes the things that we don't appreciate. Because we can be given a whole bunch and just still wonder why we don't have more. Why don't we have more? What's that? That's the actual answer. But not in a self-deprecating way. And I don't mean this, I say stuff like this and people think I'm chastising you, like you have to work hard. I don't have to do anything except for stay white and die. Everything after that's a choice. You don't have to do anything. But the question is, do you see the opportunities available to you that you could do? We like to look at other places. Well, they have this and they have that. And that explains why it is that I'm not. No, it doesn't explain anything. And it's not, and I'm not saying this as a way of saying like, stop complaining. I'm just saying stop complaining because the more time you spend complaining that wishing things were different, you're not investing in making your present and your future better. Every minute you complain about how I don't have this, every minute you do that is 1 minute less of getting that thing that you think you need. Every minute you've only got so many hours, man. You've only got so many minutes. You've only got so many days in your life. And I wonder if you take a person and you add up all of the time in their life that they spend complaining or thinking that they can't. I wonder how much time that is. Can you imagine what would happen if you had all that extra time that you could focus on the thing that you say you want to achieve? That's why when you ask that question, why do we always think about the future? There are two types of people. Those who think, I'm gonna, and the people who say, right now. What can I do right now to work towards that? And again, people who lack imagination or lack belief in themselves are going to say, oh, there's nothing I can do. No, there's so much that you can do, but you have to look for it, you have to think about it. Because nobody can tell you, and if they did tell you, I don't know if we'd believe it or not. Why is it that two people can hear the exact same thing, and one person is going to say, he doesn't know what he's talking about. If I only had more money, I'd do better in life. Well, how do you think you're going to get it? Think somebody's going to hand you a check for it? Do you think you're going to get there by working jobs that you hate? Maybe. And another person's going to hear the exact same thing and go, yeah, this is obvious. Of course. Whether or not we do anything with it is something else. But unless you have a meaning, something to work towards, a goal in mind, as you guys are saying, and a belief, and this is the hard part. This is the really hard part. Having goals isn't the hard part. The hard part is believing in yourself enough to believe that it's actually possible, because that's what's mostly at the root when we say stuff like that. well, how come, kids in La Jolla and Cornell, how come they can do it? And we say, oh, it's because they have, whatever you answer after the because is actually an indictment of ourselves. It's really us saying, I don't believe I can. They can because of this. I can't. Whatever comes after I can't, it doesn't matter. It could be I can't because I'm not an alien. Or it could be I can't because I don't have more money. It's all the same thing. It's all the same effect on our behaviors. What matters is if you believe that you can and if you believe that you can't. And it's so cliche, but it's absolutely true. So many things. And that's what strikes me is I think that I get the sense from talking with people that there's this overwhelming sense of I can't. Even if we say, I just don't want to, I just, whatever. It all amounts to the same thing. I can't. But you can. Like I think I was saying to you guys last week, someone's going to travel to Italy. Why not you? Someone's going to be on that plane to Australia. Why not you? Someone's going to do fill in the blank. Someone's going to be a fill in the blank. Why not you? And if you fill in the answer, if your answer to that question is because, then yeah, you're probably right. You can't. But if your answer to that question is something that's more proactive, like, well, you're right. Here's what I can do to get there. Then you're probably going to get there. But if you have ready-made reasons for no, then the answer is probably no. Number of opportunities is incredible. Some of you guys, I'm sure some of you guys have like there was why not? I'll tell this story. I was walking through the hallway earlier, and one of my students, not from this class, came up to me and said, hey, Scanlon, you made a mistake when you were doing the journals. I said, sounds like me, probably. And I was walking, and he said, you gave me credit. I didn't even turn the journal in, but you gave me credit, which means you put the score to the wrong person. And I said, oh, really? Yeah. So he said, I'm sorry. I don't want to. He said, I know you're busy, but just wanted you to know that I didn't deserve the credit for it. I'm like, that's pretty dope. So I said to him, shit, well, you know what? Keep the credit. I appreciate that you'd be so honest as to do something like that, dude, because you could have said nothing, gotten away with it, nobody would have been the wiser. So I appreciate you telling me that. So go ahead and I'll let you keep the credit for that. It's interesting. There are two types of responses to that I've gotten from people whenever something similar like that happens. One response, thank you. Wow, thank you, I appreciate that. That's one response. Here's another response. Are you sure? Really, are you sure? Like they're trying to talk you out of it, you know? And if you were like that, someone does something nice for you and you're like, wait, are you sure? Yeah, why? Because we're talking ourselves out of opportunities. You're hiring me? Are you sure? You really want me? I got accepted to a university. Really? Are you sure? You ask your crush out. Really? Are you sure? Stop asking that. Good things come your way, take them. Opportunities come your way, take them. Whether you deserve it or not, who cares? They come your way, take them. Those are the things that you step on top of to become what you want to become, to go where you want to go. So, that's the really long answer to your question, but we weren't doing anything else, so. Others? I'm afraid to ask. Any other questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques?